Here's how a woman with no peace chose life. Welcome to Rooted Sacred. And by the title, here's how a woman with no peace chose life. And I don't mean survival, I mean alignment. I am a Petabi Aluwafini. If you cannot pronounce that, you may call me Maria. Um, and this is my story time on how and why I started my journey into spirituality. This video is going to be raw. It is going to be uncut. I am going to just be very transparent and candid. And I'm going to share with you why I started my journey. There was a time when I looked fine on the outside. I was functioning, showing up, doing what needed to be done. I was a mother, I was a wife, I was a sister, I was a friend, I was a colleague. I did what needed to be done. But inside I was broken. Inside I was crying. There was no quiet. There was no rest. Just constant noise, mental chaos, emotional upheaval, and spiritually drowning. That's what I was. But I realized that I wasn't broken. I was simply disconnected. And that distinction really matters because when you start this journey, a lot of people will make you feel like you're broken, like you're weird, you're strange, like things should make sense that doesn't make sense, and you wonder how to navigate it. So, this is the reason for me sharing my story. I wasn't broken as much as people would like to tell me, no, you were broken. No, I wasn't broken. I was disconnected. And growing up in religion, just like all of you, Mama, if you come across this video, please just don't watch it. I know you will because you're stubborn and I get it from you. Um, but I despised religion. I grew up in religion. I spent every waking moment in church. I grew up a 7 day Adventist from birth till I was 14. At the age of 14, we transitioned over to my grandfather's church, and he was a Kojic bishop, deacon, preacher, whatever you want to call it. I hate titles, but that's what he was. Um, I despised it. I despised it. I knew early on that I did not like religion. I did not like the fact that somebody usurped so much power of a person over a person that they made them feel less than. To talk about a person until they're forced to come down in front of the church because they had a private meeting with you and they shared their shortcomings and you decided that you were going to talk about it in front of the full congregation and make this person feel like they were a leper or ostracize them. And I hated it. Like I got tired of seeing people go down in front of a church and cry and fall out and beg and plead only to not receive any kind of guidance, any kind of assistance, any kind of counseling or anything that would lead them to be happy. And so I, and God rest my grandfather, so still don't like him. That's my mother's father, but I still don't like him. Um, he's my grandfather. It is what it is, but as a person, he sucked. Like, you're a bishop of a church and you're fornicating and having relationships outside of your marriage, and you think that it's okay, but you're condemning others for doing that same set behavior. I hated it. I just, it rubbed me the wrong way. And I remember one particular instance where we had to go set up for church. And this was about, I was 16 at this time. It was the year I was turning 17. I remember it vividly. It was almost fall, so it was like late August. And we had to go down to my grandfather's church, which we walked to the church. It was a 20-minute walk. And we were setting up for, I forget one of those meetings that they have every year where other churches come. I don't know the name of it, honey. If you know the name, drop it for me in the comments. Um, but we had to go set up for it. And you can't say no because you're ultimately liable to die. So I went down, helped, and when we got down there, it was dark in the church. And I'm like, I know he's here. His car is in the parking lot. It's the only car out there. So I didn't want to assume the worst. So I told my sisters, I was like, go find the lights. Let's turn the lights on because it was dark inside the church. Like, how you want us in this big old building and it's dark in here? Like, that's stupid. Um, yeah, I really didn't like the guy, if that wasn't clear. But so my sisters went to turn the lights on, and we're gathering all the pamphlets and stuff that we need for the pews. And we go inside the sanctuary because that's where we decided that we were going to start at first. And when we go in there, my grandfather is sitting on the stage in a chair, and then there's a guy sitting to the right, um, in the pews, and he's talking to my grandfather. And when we come in, of course, we speak. And he's like, "You guys come on down here and sit down." And I'm like, "Why? We're supposed to be cleaning up. There's nothing for us to sit down for." And he's like, I want to talk to you guys and I want to introduce you to somebody." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, great. Can we not do what we're supposed to do so I can go home? I got homework to do." And he's like, "Just sit down." So I sat down. My siblings sat down right next to me. And the guy that's sitting over to the right in the other set of pews is like, "Hi, I'm your father." "What father? Whose father?" "Who?" "Not mine's." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm your father." I said, "No, you're not. My father is at home with my mama." And my grandfather goes, "Don't be disrespectful." And I looked at him and I'm like, "I'm not being disrespectful. You're rude. This is not my father." And he tells us his name, and I look at my grandfather and I say, "I hope you burn in hell." Those were literally my words at 16 years old. I don't regret it. I don't regret it to this day. He said, "This is your father and you need to show him some respect." I don't need to show him nothing. The man who raised me from an infant until I was an adult is at home. The man who gave me his last name is at home. That's my father. This man is nothing to me. I don't know him. And I said, "I'm going to go and tell my mother." I told my siblings, I said, "Let's go." Because I'm the oldest. Now, my one sister that's next to me, she's rebellious. So she stayed at the church. Me and my baby sister, we left. We went back home. I'm out of breath because why? I didn't sprint it all the way home just so I can tell my mother, yes, I used to run track. So I got home in like 7 minutes flat. I walk in the door. I'm out of breath. I can't see. I tell my mother, I'm like, "I hate your father." And she hits me before I knew it. because you can't talk that way to adults. But I'm like, I hate your father. And my mother's like, what are you talking about? And don't keep saying that. I said, he has some man down at the church that he has introduced us to, saying that this man is our father. That's not, I don't know who that man is. My father is in there. My father was in the living room with my younger siblings. And my mother was like, what are you talking about? And I said, first, I don't want to go back to church. If I have to get a whooping, please beat me now. Beat me now so I never have to go back. And my mother was like, girl, shut up. That's what her favorite word was. Girl, shut up. And I'm like, no, mom, I'm serious. I hate him. I hate what he's doing. How does he bring somebody into our life without making sure that it's okay with you first? And my mother was like, don't be making up lies. I'm like, I'm not. I promise you. I swear to God, I'm not. And my mother, you know, she was like, you're going to church. If you live in this house, you're going to church. I said, please just beat me. I don't want to go to church. I don't care if you kill me. I don't want to set foot in that church, especially his church. I don't like him, and what he's doing is not right. He didn't talk to you. I don't know who this man is. My siblings don't know who this man is. The man that has raised us is in that room. And my mother, I got a whooping. I got what I asked for. I got a whooping so that I didn't have to go back to church again. I refused. And I had a problem with disloyalty. That's your daughter. How do you do something like that and call yourself a man of God? How do you put your granddaughters through that and then expect us to be okay? And to be like, oh yes, granddad, we're gonna follow you. Are you crazy? You're serious? Oh, you're serious? No, you can't be serious. And so I got my whooping, and then I got not made to go to church again, which was fine by me. I didn't care. I would clean all day long. I'm not going to his church. Don't care. And so that was hard for me because I watched how it hurt my mother. Like her own father turned against her. Like how could you love your daughter and do that behind her back? How could you be a man of God and treat somebody like that? How could you be a man of God and talk down to people that's in your congregation and not help your community? How could you do that? I didn't understand that. So I decided I wasn't going to be a part of it. And I don't like you. I don't care who you are. I didn't like them. Um, and so it's not funny, but it's hilarious. Um, but that taught me everything I needed to know. So when my parents went to church, I was reading mystical books about the universe and how things came to be. And I started to understand that the story in the Bible that they portray is not how the world came to be. And nothing made sense. But once I started learning and reading, I started to understand that there was more to what we had been taught. And I was on a quest to learn it, to figure it out. And my grandmother, who was a Eastern Seal, told me when I was 10 years old, she said, you're going to find what you're looking for. You're going to find what you're looking for. You're a diamond in the rough. Keep going. And I never understood what she meant by that, but I kept going. I kept doing exactly what she said for me to do. I kept going. I kept reading. I kept digging. I kept trying to understand, but life has a way of taking its toll on you. So at 18, when I got married, nobody tells you about being married at a young age. You just, you're out there winging it and you're opening yourself up to a lot of different things that people don't talk about because in our culture, it's a taboo to talk about. Um, but I went through so many different things. We ended up going back to church, and that was the worst mistake I ever made. I hated it. I hated a place where I said I would never go again. We went back because when we had children, we wanted them to have a community. We wanted to be able to build a community around them because we were so young and we didn't know what we were doing. We wanted something better than what we had grown up in and what we had seen. And the only way we figured that would be possible was going back to church. And when we went back to church, it just reiterated for me why I hated organized religion. Because here we were in a church again where people were lying, people were looking down on others, people were talking about each other, people were sleeping with other people's spouses or sleeping with people in church or telling people to go out of town and sleep with people. Like, who does this? Like, what are we doing? But, you know, but this is what we were doing and not participating in that behavior, but that's what I was encountering. And it was like, there has to be something better. There has to be something better. And I just remember one day I had brought a friend of mine to church. She was my childhood friend, and she came to church with her baby sister. Now, the ladies that were in the nursery, they didn't know that that was her baby sister. They just saw a young girl with a baby, and she was taking care of the baby. And they're sitting there talking about her while she's sitting right there. And I leave out of church, out of the sanctuary during the sermon to go and check on her, make sure she's good, because, she's my guest. And she's in the bathroom bawling. And I'm like, what's wrong? What happened? And she's like, they're in there talking about me. Who? I became an instant aisle. Like, who? Who's talking about you? And she's like, the women in the nursery. Now, I'm a lot calmer than I was when I was younger. I had no filter, and I didn't have a problem with putting people in their place. So I'm all about 20, I think I was like 22 or 23 at the time. And I just remember going in the nursery. Now, these women in the nursery, they were in their late 30s and 40s. And I think the oldest one in there was like in her 50s. And I'm like, y'all sitting here talking about a person? Y'all literally sitting in here talking about a person, and y'all are supposed to be the elders of the church. You guys are supposed to be the women who lead the younger women into growth and understanding. This is what you're doing? And I just remember being so heated, and I packed up my children who were in the nursery, packed them up. I went in the sanctuary and found my spouse. And I told him, I said, we're leaving. We're leaving now. And he was like, we're in the middle of church. We're leaving. Now, either you can come with or I'm just going to leave. And so we ended up leaving, and I ended up telling him in the car on the way home what happened, and he was upset. And I'm just like, this is not how we're supposed to be treating people. And I'm not going to raise my children in this environment. So that was the moment that we decided that we were going to leave organized religion. Now, it was a good thing and it was a bad thing. It was a good thing because I finally was able to have a peace of mind. I was able to breathe and not feel like I was a fake or an imposter, because I was in a system that was not designed for me, did not fit my ideologies, did not help me in any way. And but the bad thing was is that I left my soul crying. I left my soul looking for an anchor. I left my soul asking questions of where do we fit in. And I'm an avid reader, so I would read plenty of books on different spiritualities and trying to learn different systems that would fit with my mind, with my inner self. And nothing fit. Nothing fit. In 2018, I became diagnosed with a terminal illness. And I was on borrowed time. But this is when I entered my spiritual journey. And For a lack of a better word, some will say I was broken by what I had went through, but I don't see it as broken. I see it as I was disconnected. I wasn't connected to what was meant for my soul, what I had originally come from. And at some point, my my body was now in control. My body was talking to my soul, and it got louder than my fear. My body was asking me the question of, so when are you going to stop running on autopilot? When are you going to stop making excuses? When are you going to stop trying to sugarcoat things? When are you going to start choosing yourself? You're on the brink of extinction and you're still worried about everybody else. And so in 2018, I picked up the book by James Weeks called Mystics Across the King's River. And I began to read it. And he was talking about his quest into spirituality, coming from the background of organized religion, and how he never felt whole, he never felt complete. And it was very reminiscent of what I was going through. And so I dove in, and it was the point of no return. I had nothing to lose. I was already losing. I was already losing. And that choice, that choice to embark on this spiritual journey, it didn't lead me to comfort like I was hoping. I was hoping that it would lead me to comfort and give me a place for my soul to be anchored. It did anchor my soul, but it didn't lead me to comfort. It led me to more discipline. It led me to more truth. It led me to more honesty. It led me to more self acceptance of who I was. And that path brought me to Ifa. That path is what brought me to where I am now. So I entered Ifa um, in 2019. I started learning about the Orishas. I started learning about Ifa and the literary corpus. Um, and it resonated with me. Who I encountered first, it really resonated with me. It resonated with who I was and what I was going through at the time. And um, it taught me that this is not an escape. If you're going to embark on this journey, you're going to have to be serious and you're going to have to uncover some things about yourself that are not comfortable. And that's what people don't tell you on this journey. You know, people will draw you in with names and titles and um, make things look magical, but they don't tell you the work that goes into it. And I started in 2018 on learning. I got initiated in September of 2020. I had my 21st surgery in November of 2020, and I'm here now. I'm here today. Um, this wasn't an escape for me, it was what my soul needed. Spiritually, did it save me? No, it taught me, it trained me, it taught me to pause, it taught me to discern, it taught me to choose peace over purpose, and it taught me the true essence of being your most authentic self. What the world sees and what you encounter on a daily basis are two different things. What you go through on any given day is not what you give the world. You can walk out of your door in the morning with a smile on your face and be going through absolute chaos and not feeling seen, heard, loved, or appreciated. And this is the reason why I decided to share my story, to have a moment of transparency and vulnerability, because When you start these journeys, no one tells you the work that goes into it. It goes beyond initiation for those of you that decide to embark on that journey. It goes past sitting in monk style fashion for meditation, or drinking herbs, or eating fruits and vegetables and all those things. It goes beyond that. Those are all physical outside activities. This requires work. And this is why I decided to share my story, because this is what helped me become a life coach. This is what helped me embrace who I am truly and authentically, without shame, without fear, without what I call imposter syndrome. When you become serious about something, you live, you breathe, you eat, and you sleep it. For me, having an anchor for my spirit was paramount. For me, having peace in my life was paramount. Having the ability to help others heal themselves and understand themselves is something that I um, truly enjoy and take great pride in. And so, if you're in a place in your life where organized religion doesn't work for you anymore, where you're disconnected from your environment that you're currently in, this is for you. If you're in a place where peace feels distant, or you feel like you're disconnected from those that should really resonate with you, this story is for you. This is why I chose life, and this is how I chose life. And stick around, hear the rest of my story, um, follow it to completion. If this resonates with you, wonderful. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, so you'll be notified when I upload the next part of my story. Um, I look forward to reading the comments, and if you leave comments, I will address them in the next video. Um, if you're interested in coaching, you can message me at rootedsacred@gmail.com. Um, and I will be happy to talk to you. Um, with that being said, everyone, have a wonderful day, and thank you for tuning in to Rooted Sacred.